What is up? Welcome to another Tuesday edition of Build with the CEO. My name is Trevor and I am your resident CEO. And before we get into episode 2 of Front End Offers, where we're going to dig deep into like the anatomy of a great front end offer, I want to share something with you. So, most of the time during the week when I'm at work, I have kind of like a done for you meal, right? We have a local company that comes in and brings them to the gym. Um, but just similar ones that you'd like get off the internet, right? Done for you meal. Typically, they're a little light on calories and protein. So something that I've been adding that's been awesome are these like Wild Planet sardines. I don't eat a ton of fish in my diet outside of these, and so it's a great way for me to get in some omega threes. But yeah, it's just a cool little hack. You open it up, you eat them, and you just add them to the meal or after the meal, and get in some omega threes. They got 18 grams of protein, right? Another 200 calories, well, 170 calories to add to the meal, and so pretty awesome. Give myself an element, and I got a great lunch. So thank you for hanging out with me today. Today we are talking about the anatomy of a front end offer. So last week we talked about what a front end offer is, and I like to give the analogy of a bridge for a front end offer, and really I think we should call it a bridge offer because you're taking someone who is relatively interested in what you do, and we want to take them to our main offer, but they're really not ready to do our main offer, so we need a bridge to take them there, right? So if you went away last week, fired up, ready to build one, it's good because this week we are going to dive into the anatomy of one. We're going to talk about where most coaches go wrong. They build, they launch it, and then crickets, right? And not because necessarily the idea was bad, because the offer was missing some key pieces, and we're going to explain all that today. So we're done with talking about what a front end offer is. Now we're going to start pulling one apart. What makes someone say yes versus kind of scrolling past the thing? And we're going to talk a little bit about what kills conversions before they even start. And then one thing most coaches leave out that makes the what next feel like the client's idea instead of a sales pitch. Because remember, with our front end offer, the goal is for it to be a bridge into our main offer. Too many times coaches make front end offer the offer, and we end up selling challenges rather than selling our core coaching program. So let's get into it and let's talk about the first thing that trips people up. And that's typically not the price, it is the wrong starting point. So most coaches, they build their front end offer starting from what's easy for them to deliver, not necessarily what's compelling for someone to buy. So I just want to say that again. Most coaches start from what's easy for them to deliver, not what's compelling for someone to buy, right? One starting point I see for a lot of coaches is I'll just take my main program, I'm going to shrink it, right? It's the wrong starting point. We won't want to think about it that way. Or, I see everyone doing challenges. Challenges have to be the way to go. I should probably do a challenge. Maybe, maybe not. But that's also not where we should start, right? Challenges are simply a mechanism, right? That's not where we want to start, right? Your front end offer has to start with one question. What is the single most frustrating thing my ideal client is dealing with right now? Okay. What's the single most frustrating thing my ideal client is dealing with right now? Right. We want the we want the problem that people are searching for a solution to. Okay. We want the thing that's going on right now that they're actively looking for a solution. That's where our front end offer is. Not a solution in 6 months, not eventually, like right now, this week, what keeps them up at night, right? That problem right there, that is your offer. Everything else, length, format, price, that comes after that piece. But if we can't define that piece, we need to keep pulling back the layers until we get to the core problem that people are actively searching to solve, right? That's what we're trying to do. And coaches who build offers around their own conveniences, that's where low conversion comes into play. But coaches who build around a very specific, urgent client pain get people pulling out their wallets and their credit cards fast because we are ultimately serving the client. Okay? Too many times coaches start with their own convenience in mind, but I need you to start with the problem your clients have. What's the single most frustrating thing my ideal client is dealing with right now? We don't need to solve the entire thing right now, but what's something they're aware of that they're actively searching a solution for? So I'm gonna just give you like two just examples here from like the gym space, because that's where I live most of my time. So what's the difference between running a 30-day fitness challenge versus lose your first 10 pounds before summer? They could be the exact same program, right? But we're just positioning them differently. The 30-day fitness challenge, it's kind of generic, right? Where they'll lose your first 10 pounds before summer. It's very specific, it's very timely, it's very urgent, right? Same basic structure, right, on how we would run it, but you're going to get completely different conversion rates. So, the principle I want you to take away from this is specificity is the thing that makes people feel like this offer was built for them. So, you need to understand your perfect client at the deepest level. Generic offers feel like they're for everyone, which means they're ultimately for what? No one, right? So, we need specificity in this offer. So, once you nail your problem, once you truly understand what the client is searching for, what does the actual offer contain? That's what we're going to get into here next. So there's three ingredients. There's three ingredients to a really, really, really good offer. Every good front end offer that converts has these three things. If you miss even just one of them, the whole thing kind of falls apart. It's like three legs to a stool. We need all three of them for this to be successful. So ingredient number one is a clear, specific outcome, right? Not something generic like get healthier or feel better, a specific, measurable, believable result that someone can like hold in their hands, right? Something that's tangible at the end. Lose 8 pounds in 28 days. Very specific, right? Build a morning routine that actually sticks. Very specific, right? Improve your fitness. Not specific, not really all that compelling, not a great front end offer. Okay. So we want to be very clear and specific with the outcome. And ultimately the outcome has to be believable in that time frame. Like we can't just like make things up because the consumer is too sophisticated, right? The client is too sophisticated. And like they're going to see right through that. If you need inspiration for this kind of stuff, I know people don't do this anymore, but they're still there. Walmart, Target, anywhere where they have magazines at the checkout. Look at Men's Health, Women's Health, any of the top kind of health and fitness magazines, and just look at their headlines, right, on their front cover. That'll give you some ideas on how to structure some of these things. But the outcome has to be believable. We can't just be like making things up. Lose 50 pounds in 7 days, right? Just not possible unless you're cutting people's limbs off, which then maybe it is possible, right? But if someone can't picture themselves achieving it, they're not going to buy it, right? And it has to be something they actually want, not something you think they should want. That's a huge point too. Many times as coaches, we think they should want this thing. Like from our eyes, this is what they should want, but we need to start with what they want, and eventually we can kind of teach them and move that along the coaching process. But right away, to get them interested, we need to give them what they want, right? So, ingredient number two is a short, defined timeline. This is a front end offer. This is a bridge offer. This is not your core change your life offer. This is a how do I get you started and build trust offer. So, um, we need something short and we need a very defined timeline. Okay. The longer, the more open-ended your offer is, the harder it is to say yes to, right? If it's not really clear, any ambiguity, anything vague inside of your offer is going to turn people away. It needs to be really, really, really clear. Okay. Defined start and end dates removes the fear of being locked in. Because right away, a big fear, probably with a lot of coaching, right, is what happens if I'm not successful? And so if I have a short defined time frame, right, 7 to 14 days, I have my out, right? Short timelines also create urgency, both to buy and to actually do the work. We have a short compressed time frame. Anyone can do something for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, right? Doesn't matter really how challenging it is, you can execute on that. The timeline should feel like it's just enough to get the result, but not so long that it feels like another program. right? Remember, this is a bridge, right? This is just moving them, getting them started, moving them towards your core program. Now, here's a little kind of like rule of thumb. If it sounds like your main program with a discount, the timeline is probably too long. Okay. This is a bridge to your main program. So just to review, number one, or ingredient number one, a clear, specific outcome. Ingredient number two, short, defined timeline. Okay. 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, they all work. You just have to figure out what works for your perfect client and for your audience. And then the ingredient number three, and this is one a lot of people miss, is an obvious next step built in. Right? This is the one that most coaches leave out. And this is probably the most critical ingredient because this is the one that's going to move them into your main program. And this is what makes the whole thing work because the goal is not to sell front end offers or bridge programs. The goal is to sell main programs. And this is a bridge to our main program, right? This offer doesn't have a finish line or it doesn't end at the finish line, right? It ends at a door, right? A door that opens into your main program. But here's the thing, that door into your main program needs to be visible from day one, not just like bolted on at the end with the sales pitch. And we call this future casting. And I was actually just on a call with a coach yesterday and we were looking through, or we were kind of talking about what she was offering, how she was offering it, and where she wanted to go. And one thing that I think made sense to her, and hopefully will make sense to you, is thinking about your front end offer as the first phase of your program, right? Whoever you serve, the program that you have, your core offer, think about the front end offer as like the first phase, right? We want to solve a quick problem for the client because that builds trust. It also gets them some results, right? They start feeling good about the program, building momentum, all good things early on, right? Just human psychology, right? And so think about this as like phase one. And so in phase one, we're talking about what's coming in phase two, right? So it just makes it inevitable that people will move into phase two. And we're almost assuming that people are going to move in to phase two. And like how we frame all of this is what matters. Right? When clients finish this and they're building some momentum, like they want to keep going. And we need to show them what that looks like, right? Versus just saying, okay, now let me tell you about my program, right? That's like too much of a transition. The goal is just to flow into that next piece. That's why I like phase one. We can give it another name, we can give it some meat, but phase one means like intuitively that there are multiple phases to this, right? And so for the client, they'll kind of just kind of assume that, hey, phase one and then phase two and then phase three. And so it doesn't feel like your agenda. It's just kind of the first part of the program. So we've got our three ingredients. We've got our clear, specific outcome. We've got our short, defined timeline. And then we've got an obvious next step built in. Okay. Those are the three pieces that we want to build out. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what kills conversions, right? What could turn people off when they're contemplating whether or not to participate in your front end offer. Number one, and this one is a little bit counterintuitive, is too much is included. I'm putting too much out there. And this is a thing that most coaches, myself included, fall into. This is a trap we hit all the time. Is because we want to provide value, want to provide value, want to provide value. But what this ultimately does is more is confusing. And confused people don't buy. So every time we add something to the offer, we make it harder to understand. We make it harder for the prospect to understand what they're actually getting. So simple is better here. I know those of us that kind of have been in the internet marketing world, we think about all of these add-ons and yada, 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 right? Stacking value, stacking value, stacking value, stacking value, right? But that can be confusing, right, to the consumer. And this isn't just a one-time buy. This is the start of a relationship that we're going to be having with this client. So a little rule here is a front-end offer should be explainable in 2 sentences. Okay, if it takes a paragraph to explain your front-end offer, it's too long. It's too complicated. 2 sentences. Pare it down till you get it 2 sentences. So we're trying to overload our front end offers because we want to provide value, but really truly value comes from clarity and results, right? Not time. I give this example all the time, probably like once a month. If your client could sit on the couch, watch Netflix, and eat whatever they want, donuts, ice cream, and get the result that they wanted, they would probably choose that, right? Because it's easy. And so, like, it's not about giving them more, it's about the program having clarity and the program demonstrating results, right? Social proof is more important than anything else. But getting the client's results is the core of the program, right? So everything that we put into the program should drive that piece, not just add more to add more. Killer number 2 is no urgency. An offer that's available anytime to get purchased gets purchased, yeah, sometimes, which usually means never, right? So there's a couple ways to get around this. One is cohort based or live challenges. That solves it naturally, right? Because we have deadline. We call this like a deadline driven offer where everyone's starting on this day. There is a start date. So those work really well, but not everyone wants to kind of do the launch type of format. So evergreen offers, evergreen, if you haven't ever heard the term evergreen, refers to the evergreen tree, which is always green. And when we say evergreen offers, this means an offer that's always available, right? So with evergreen offers, we kind of have to manufacture some reasons to act. So these aren't false. This isn't false scarcity, but we need to put some other levers in there to help people act. So this might be limited spots, right? We only take so many people at a time. It might be a specific launch window where we're launching in this time frame. It could be like a bonus that you're adding to it that expires, right? Maybe it's a call with you or something like that. But this doesn't have to be fake scarcity, just like a real reason not to wait, right? So we have a couple models, right? Cohort based, deadline driven type offers, right? Where we're doing it all together as a group. Everybody's doing it together, or we have this evergreen. So you kind of choose which one works best for you. If you have a big enough audience, I think live ones, cohort based ones are awesome and they work really well. We've done tons of them at Coach Catalyst, and I personally like that model. So killer number 3 is the price is wrong. There's a version that's too cheap and a version that's too expensive, and both kill conversions just like for different reasons. So too cheap, so it attracts people who are shopping for deals, not necessarily results. They're just looking for a deal, right? And what this does, it devalues your work, right? And it fills your program with the wrong clients. Because remember, we're trying to bridge people into our main program. And so if our main program is $400 a month, $500 a month, and we're selling a front end offer for 47, I don't know if we're going to get the right person. Okay. So we can't be too cheap. We need to align that stuff. Right. But it also can't be like too expensive for this either, because we want this to be like a low friction yes. Someone shouldn't have to like take out a second mortgage to do this particular program. Right. We want it low friction. Because if we're selling this for a lot, right? If we're selling this for a lot, we might as well just go into our main program. Right. And so remember, this is short, 14 days, right? So if we just start breaking this stuff down, just easy math, I'm going to say your normal program is $400 a month. So technically, right, 7 days of your program is $100, right? So if you sold a 7-day program for 47, 77, 97, like that, that kind of makes a lot of sense, right? And so you just start kind of breaking things down and just make sure the math, and we're close. We're close to what we would be charging for our normal program, right? Because the other thing that price does is it signals quality. So you don't want to go so low where you make people question whether or not it's worth it. Wow, this is really cheap. It's probably not any good, right? You would rather have less clients that are paying more than a whole lot of clients that are paying less, right? There's going to be less headaches there. Okay, so that's killer number 3. So just a review, just in case you're jumping on kind of midway. Killer number 1, too much included. Killer number 2, no urgency. Killer number 3, the price is wrong. And killer number 4, there's no connection to the main offer. And I talked about this a little bit before, is we want to make this a bridge to our main offer. This is by far the most important piece in this because we're not selling front end offers. We are selling our core program, right? That's the heart of your business, right? And if your front end offer and your core program feel like two completely different products or even two completely different businesses, like you've built a dead end, right? Not the bridge that we're going for. Okay, so let's put this all together now, and let's kind of build out, show you what a built out front end offer actually looks and feels like. So it's kind of what do we have here? 5 different things that we're gonna roll through. And this is a 5 question checklist that you can use to really stress test any front end offer, any bridge offer before you launch it. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 questions here, and you can always stop and rewind this if you need to, but I'll run through all 5 here. The first one: can I explain what they get and what result they'll walk away with in 2 sentences? Right? 2 sentences. Explain what they get and what result they'll walk away with in 2 sentences. Okay. If you can't, just simplify it, right? Make it simpler, make it easier to understand. Does finishing this make someone more ready for my main program, right? This is that connection. This is that bridge. Okay. If they do this program, will they be a better client in my main program? If not, this is probably more of a standalone product, excuse me, and not a bridge. So let's just redesign the outcome, right? All of these has fixes. So is there a specific start date and end date or a clear time frame? Right? If not, simple, add one. Open-ended equals low urgency, low conversions. Right? We want a specific start and end date and a clear time frame so the client knows exactly what they're in for. Is there a natural is there an obvious natural conversation about what's next built into the offer? Right. So this kind of goes along with number two, but we want to be having this conversation about what's next. That's why I talk about these phases. I think those are really good. And maybe you have a different term for phases, but like we have these pieces of the puzzle. So phase one, phase two, and phase one is really your bridge offer, right? And does the price feel like a no-brainer for someone who's interested but not fully convinced yet? Right? Someone that's interested. We're not taking someone just like cold, random off the street, but someone that's interested, right? But they're not convinced yet that maybe you're the right person for them. Okay. If it's a no, let's just adjust, right? Either the price or the perceived value needs to move, right? And usually I like perceived value. How are we talking about it? How are we positioning it? Do we need to make it more clear, right? I don't want to say add things because maybe we don't need to add anything and maybe we just need to articulate it better. All right, so let me run through those 5 here one more time. Can I explain what they get and what result they'll walk away with in 2 sentences? We need to simplify and make it easy to understand. Does finishing this make someone more ready for my main program? Right? Think about it almost like a pre-program. Does it set them up to be a better client for my main program? Is there a specific start and end date or a clear time frame? 14 days, 21 days, 7 days, that kind of thing. Right? Is there obvious natural conversation about what's next built into it? Right? That's why I like this phases: phase one, phase two, phase three. Does the price feel like a no-brainer for someone that's interested, they have the problem and they're looking for a solution? Right? Can they just jump in and see results? Okay. And if you can get those 5 questions, right, you can take like a coldest prospect that saw this offer on their own, really no context, no relationship with you, right? And we can move them into a client. And really, I should say it's an opportunity because they haven't come a client yet, an opportunity to help change this person's life, right? And so that's what we're thinking about with their front end offers. We're talking to that coldest person, not that person that is super warm or the previous client. Yes, they may jump on this stuff, but we want to build this for someone that doesn't have any context, no relationship with you yet. Would they think that's exactly what I need right now? And if we've done the hard work, right? If we've really dug into our perfect client, if we've figured out their problem, what are they struggling with right now? And then we've created this solution to one aspect of their problem that they're looking to solve, that is a solid front end offer, a solid bridge that takes them to our main offer, which then gives us the opportunity to change their life. Okay. So a front end offer that converts isn't more complicated than your main offer. It's actually simpler. One problem, one result, one timeline, one next step. The coaches who overthink it are the ones who end up with nobody that buys. So one problem, one result, one timeline, one next step. Right? That's it. So what do? Your action step. Take whatever front end offer you have, or if you haven't built one yet, one that you're thinking about building, and run it through those 5 questions that I talked about earlier or just right before this, right? And be honest, right? Who cares if some of the questions don't check out? That's opportunities to improve it. Okay. And that's ultimately what we do. The better, the more clear the offer can be, the easier it is going to be for you to get clients and have something for those people that aren't ready to jump into the main show. Okay. So we've got a ton of stuff in Coach Catalyst. If you do need content to help build out those front end offers, take anything that we've created. We've got short-term programs, 5-7 day programs that can be built directly into an offer. But remember, like, those programs are not magic. The magic is aligning the problem that your clients, your perfect clients, are currently having, and you creating a solution for that problem. And then the content and stuff, that's just part of the method. That's how you help that client be successful. So don't feel like our stuff is magic. The magic is in taking our stuff and then positioning it in a way that helps your client solve the problem they're looking to solve. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gets you start to think about this. As always, if you have questions, definitely tag me in the Facebook group. We're happy to help as much as we can. And yeah, that's it. That's it for this Tuesday. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you here next Tuesday. My name is Trevor, CEO of Coach Catalyst. All right. Check you later.